Welcome to CAM Radio, an ahead of the curve initiative by Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas, bringing you every Friday the latest in legal and policy. Stay tuned. Enjoy listening.
Good evening and welcome to this episode of CAM Radio. I'm very excited personally for this episode because I'm going to be interviewing one of the icons of our profession, Dr. Lalit Bhasin, who needs no introduction. Dr. Bhasin has been around for over 6 decades in the profession and leads the bar in many ways. So he would be sharing with us his journey and his views on a number of issues. So Dr. Bhasin, welcome. Or if I can call you Lalit ji.
Thank you, Cyril. Thanks a lot.
So let me first start with you a little bit on a personal note of, you really had a phenomenal journey as a lawyer. I remember, even though I've completed 41 years, which is a long period, but when I hear that you completed 62 years, that puts things in a little perspective for me. And you're still at it. So having completed 62 years in the field, you worn several hats, lawyer, managing partner, arbitrator, institution builder, president of SILF, former president of the International Bar Association, and God knows so many others. So when you look back, zooming back into your journey and contributions to the Indian legal profession, what are some of your reflections and some of the moments that kind of stand out for you?
Yeah, Cyril, firstly, let me thank you for giving me this opportunity of sharing my lifespan in the profession of 62 years. I started my law practice in 1962 after doing my law from the Delhi University.
I was 3 years old then.
And I started as a struggling lawyer, appearing in the district courts and labor courts and all that, and gradually shifted to the High Court. And the first professional break came for me was in the year 1965, 1966, when I was asked by the legend in the field of hospitality industry, Rai Bahadur M.S. Oberoi, that if I could help them in drafting the service conditions of the Oberoi at that time Intercontinental in New Delhi, which was just getting finishing touches, and I readily agreed to do that. Therefore, that was my first introduction in the corporate world of India by being consulted by one of the topmost hotel chains at that time, along with the Taj Group. Both of these were really the hospitality leaders in the industry. So in 1970, I set up my law firm in New Delhi. That time it was not a vogue to have law firm, but considering you see the names which Amarchand Mangaldas had made in Mumbai and other places, and other law firms like Crawford Bailey and Little and Co. and or Dignam at
also
that.
Dada Chandji and others were also there.
Yeah, Dada Chandji. That J.B. Dada Chandji was the one of the first law firms, along with Anand Sagar and Das Gupta, and of course D.C. Singhania and Co. So mine was like the fourth or fifth law firm which was set up, and after that there was no turning back so far as my professional career is concerned. And then we had various other good clients also come over. In 1973, that is where you may call the role of serving the profession started. When 1973, I was elected as the chairman of the Bar Council of Delhi, which position I held for 4 years from 1973 to 74. I was the only, I think, chairman of the Bar Council to have held the position for 4 years, because after me, every year there has been like rotations, 1 year, 2 years, 4 years. But during this period, as was my inheritance from my grandfather and father, who were lawyers, but my grandfather was a freedom fighter lawyer, and actually he died as a result of a lathi blow by the British police in 1946. And he was a lawyer, but he had given up his law practice, and he was a part of the Congress party engaged in freedom struggle. My father was a rebel lawyer who appeared for, Sheikh Abdullah when he was imprisoned, then Bakshi Ghulam Muhammad, and then against Pratap Singh Kairo, who was the chief minister of Punjab.
Yeah.
And so he was always representing the rebel causes. Money making was not in our family. It was doing service, paying it to the society the way you can and to the country. So when I became the chairman of the Bar Council, I initiated two very important moves to help my fellow legal professionals. I myself was only about 11 years in the profession, a struggling lawyer. What I did was, I asked Raj Kapoor, the famous filmmaker, to give me, a premiere show of his bombshell movie Bobby in 1973-74, because I wanted to raise some funds for the Bar Council of India. So Raj Kapoor very graciously, kindly agreed to do so when he came to know why I am asking him to do so. And we were able to raise about 5 lakhs of rupees at that time, which may be more than even 5 crore these days. And with the help of that money which we raised, when Raj Kapoor, brought the cast to Regal Theatre in Delhi, we were able to raise 5 lakhs. Partially it was spent on setting up a reference library in the only district court at that time, that is Tis Hazari Court, which was inaugurated by no less a person than the President of India, in the presence of the honorable judges of High Court, Chief Justices, the Law Minister, Mr. Gokhale, and everyone. They were present there. So that library was essentially for junior members of the bar who did not have money to buy books, and it is still being used, as a reference library. So that is like a permanent contribution. Second, I set up a fund which is called the Disabled and Indigent Lawyers Fund, which was required by particularly practitioners in the district courts, in the labor courts, other courts, people who can't afford. They meet with accidents. They could not afford, the expenses, medical expenses, or someone dies in harness, the family needs some support. Therefore, that fund was set up for the first time in India by the Bar Council, and that has continued till now. So that was in 1973 to 77. And in 1980s, I started my association with the international bodies, legal professions, like the Commonwealth Law Association. That was the first conference held in India at the Ashoka Hotel. So Mr. R.K.P. Shankar Das, who eventually became the president of IBA also, the only one from India, he and I worked together to have that conference in the year 1980-81, which was inaugurated by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi at that point of time. And then we became very active so far as the International Bar Association is concerned. I was taken as the council member. I set up, the committee on legal aid. I say legal aid should not be a lip service. We should be doing really good legal aid service, particularly in the developing countries. At that time, India was either an underdeveloped country or still a developing country. And then I became also the chairperson of their Human Rights Committee. So this all started, and I became the Deputy Secretary General and the Council Member of IBA. And eventually, in the year 1997, we held the first international conference in India where nearly 3,000 foreign lawyers participated. Now that was an achievement by our team to showcase India's legal profession. And that also marked the inauguration of the famous India Habitat Center, because this was the first event which was held at the India Habitat Center, inaugurated by the President of India. So I virtually introduced the IBA to the Indian legal profession since I was chairing that very crucial importance conference. And it also coincided with the opening of the Indian economy at that time in late 90s, which has of course carried on till now 2024. Our economy has not looked back. Rather, the growth has been accelerated during the last 10, 15 years. At that time, it was very important, you see, to showcase the Indian legal profession because so many other law firms had come up. We saw the growth in the law firms from just 5 or 6 in the major cities like Mumbai or Kolkata, Madras, and hardly 3 or 4 in Delhi. During this period, say from mid 90s till 2005-6, we saw the growth of very good number of law firms with good resources, with good knowledge of technology, and comparatively led by young people, So that was very important. So that saw the also growth, and we wanted to show it to the world, you see, that Indian lawyers and particularly the law firms, they are second to none, and they can compare favorably, you see, with their counterparts in the other parts of the world. So this all happened during that period. But at the same time, I became the General Secretary of the Bar Association of India in 1990. And Mr. Fali Nariman, whom I consider as my mentor, you see, he was elected as the president. So two of us formed a team till 2010 for nearly 20 years, and we really brought back to life the Bar Association of India, which had virtually gone into the background. And under his leadership, Fali Nariman's leadership, the Bar Association of India came to be recognized, you see, as one of the foremost champions of liberties, of rights and human rights, and also for the young professionals in the country.
And access to justice.
So I saw this growth, you see, in the legal profession by strengthening and promoting the respective bodies, international as well as domestic, that is the Bar Association of India. But at the same time, I did not neglect my profession. I became advisor, you see, to various groups, business houses like Birla's, Hinduja's, Reliance, and other groups. And I was on the board also, and Accenture and Microsoft and all that. So we helped that. So side by side, that growth in the
I used to also remember you doing a lot of work for Air India at that time as well.
Yes, Air India, since 1980, we were handling Air India's work both in New Delhi and in, that time there were 2 airlines, Air India and Indian Airlines.
Yes.
So we became the lawyers. But even for the Ministry of Civil Aviation, we have been the lawyers. Air India, we still continue to do the legal work. So this, in the year 2000, which is a landmark, a milestone, so far as my professional growth is concerned, and my contribution to the legal profession is setting up of the Society of Indian Law Firms. Now, I did not join Society of Indian Law Firms, rather we set up Society of Indian Law Firms along with 4 or 5 other very, very eminent names at that time, apart from your good self as Amarchand Mangaldas. But we had Rajiv Luthra, late Rajiv Luthra, dear friend, Rohit Kochard, Ravinath, and Ranjit Dua, and DC Singhania. So 5, 6 of us, we met and we decided to form the Society of Indian Law Firms, which was inaugurated by the then president of the International Bar Association, a lady, Diana Ken from Bahamas. She was the person to inaugurate, along with our friend Mr. Arun Jaitley, who was Minister of State for Law and Justice at that point of time. And this SILF has grown to be a very formidable institution in the sense it is recognized now all over the world, and also by our own parliament, by our own judiciary, by the executive, the ministries, they consult us, as you are aware, because you are a very important part of Society of Indian Law Firms, that it represents a brilliant think tank consisting of nearly 130 top law firms spread all over the country. And SILF has really done pioneering work so far as the providing economic support to the governments, to the industrialists, to the chambers of commerce, because without legal support, you cannot achieve anything. There cannot be protocols, there cannot be conventions, there cannot be bilateral agreements, there cannot be mergers and acquisitions, amalgamations. Nothing can happen without legal support. So that is the role which our SILF members, and particularly such leading firms as yourselves and some other eminent members, have been providing to boost the economic growth of our country. And legal profession has played a very important role in this regard.
No, I fully agree. And as you were speaking, what struck me and stood out was the fact that your career and life is almost synonymous with the growth of the profession in post-independent India as well. I mean, you're there from literally some of the initial days and still going strong today. But the other thing which stood out for me was that you have always spent a disproportionate amount of your time on building institutions. So you are, I think, whilst you've done great things on the professional side personally, I think your legacy will really be of making institutions, whether it's SILF or whether it's the Bar Association or so many. To count on, we can't count so many as well. So my question to you is, what is it about your personality and your journey that makes you such a terrific institution builder? It's not easy to build institutions because it requires a certain vision, it requires a tenacity, it requires a certain selflessness as well. But if in your own words you could describe what makes Lalit Bhasin such a great institution builder?
No, I never started as an institution builder. My whole aim, as I said, because of the legacy that I had from my father and grandfather of giving it to the country, to the society, my first preference was that, of course, now India was independent at that point of time, so there was no question of freedom struggle. But one could really do something so far as the legal profession is concerned. So my attempt always has been, during the last 50 years or so, right from the time when I became the chairman of the Bar Council, to somehow create such conditions that our young professionals, they have a bright future, they have good legal education, which was the requirement of the time, but building of institution came along with it, I never aspired to be a leader in that sense. I always considered myself as a professional to help other colleagues in the profession. And things came by. As they say, log aate gaye, karma banta gaya. As they say. So things kept on happening. And one of the milestones was when I was elected as the president of the Inter-Pacific Bar Association, which is one of the most powerful institution in the Asian Pacific region, right up to the American West Coast. So I never aspired to become, the president of IPBA or president of Bar Association of India, much less president of Society of Indian Law Firms, particularly when there were so many eminent and distinguished leaders in the law firms. But somehow I was asked, that I should take the lead. So I took it as a responsibility, that if it's a responsibility, it has to be fulfilled to its, fullest extent. That has been like my mission. And with that purpose, I decided, that it is high time that as organization like Society of Indian Law Firm should also have its own premises. It cannot continue to function from the office of President Lalit Bhasin or Secretary Rohit Kochard or from Rajiv Luthra's office. So we decided that there should be, and Mr. Arun Jaitley gave us a lot of help in getting this plot of land in the institutional area, and this was blessed by the then Prime Minister Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee when he recognized, you see, SILF's contribution and gave me, handed over to me an award for what he called was outstanding service to the legal profession. So these are like milestones which came by. Possibly people realize that something good is happening for the profession and particularly for the law firms and the young members. And what helped us was actually our vibrant democracy and the rule of law. We as lawyers are committed, you see, to rule of law, whether we practice in the courts or we work as law firms. We are committed to rule of law, and we promote and strengthen rule of law. And we provide this legal support, you see, to the government. So that has also helped, you see, in promoting, and also inspired me was that law schools are the basic foundation for any good lawyer, you see. And
Yes.
India is really lacking in good legal institution providing education.
So that has changed now. Now there are so many very, very good law schools.
Now there are very good institutions. We have the national law schools. Even the private sector is playing a big role. We have universities like Symbiosis, Amity, GD Goenka, and so many other good institutions which are deemed universities, and they are doing a great job. So in the field of education also, I feel that we were able to do, our SILP members, they visit the law schools and share, you see, what is happening contemporaneously in the world with not only the students but also with the faculty members who need to be informed about the progress that law is making.
Absolutely, and very well said. Now I can sort of come back a little to current times. I mean, this was a tour de force of, literally the history of so many important institutions in our profession. But if I can come back to the present, how do you feel? What are your views on the state of the legal profession today, and what opportunities exist for young lawyers? There are so many now. There are hundreds or thousands of lawyers coming out of law schools every year as well. How should they be looking at the profession, and how should they be thinking of building their careers? How would you define the state of play in 2024?
You see, when I started my profession in 1962, it was still considered as a profession. Over a period of time, and possibly due to developments at the international level, the profession is being converted into a business, which is not a correct thing to do, because our founding fathers of the independence movements, whether it was the father of the nation, or it was the first Prime Minister, or it was the first Rashtrapati, President of India, or the first Home Minister, Vallabhbhai Patel, Dr. Ambedkar, they all belong to this profession and they gave up. Even today we have, whether it is the present government or the previous governments, leading lights of the profession gave up their lucrative practices, you see, to serve the country as ministers, cabinet ministers, and do their jobs, you see, to the best of their knowledge. So that professional link has been maintained. But at the level of the practitioners, I think we are converting, and that is where technology has also played a good role, in the sense that having websites.
I can just give a counterpoint of view. So as India is globalizing, as the economy is expanding, and the international professional community is also looking very keenly at India, is this not bound to happen? That you need large organizations, you need large law firms running into hundreds of lawyers, and at one level, how do you avoid it becoming like a business? It is a profession, and I think the ethics should be of a profession. But how can you fight the tendency of such large organizations to become like a business? Is that even possible?
No, it is possible, because whether you have 10 lawyers or you have 100 lawyers, if those lawyers are committed to keep this as a profession, then it can be done, and it has been done in India. For instance, such big law firms as yours, you see, or Sam or Nishit Desai or Zia Modi and all that,
Yes.
they all have kept the basic principle in mind that
So I think it's important, and I think all the names that you mentioned will be keeping up and upholding ethical traditions.
yes, ethical. They have not converted this into a business, you see. Whereas in some foreign jurisdiction, lawyers are forming even the corporate bodies, companies, which are listed also, and investments are made by non-lawyers in those companies and all that.
Correct.
That is what makes it a business. So we have to take.
We are not there yet.
Yes, against that, you see that we should not be something like those institutions which are functioning now in UK and Australia and other jurisdictions. So we have to be careful about it, that let us keep it a profession, not make it, you see, like a business as has been done in other jurisdictions. So what can be done is, yes, use of technology. It is imperative. It is imperative, technology, because we have to do lot of research. Supposing I want something on natural justice, so I immediately, you see, go to the equipment and I get all the case law and all that and all that. So as a research tool, technology is very important, very significant, and it does help the profession also. It helps the judiciary also. But that is where the role of technology should stop. It should only function as a facilitator, and use of technology should not be there so far as decision making is concerned.
But the genie has out of the bottle. So, number of tools that you mentioned, which are more or less like search engine. I mean, they've been around for a few years. But the threshold that we are sitting on today as a profession, not just in India, but globally, is that of the arrival of generative AI and ChatGPT and whatever. And I think we're still at the early stages of that. And the possibilities are enormous. The free text search and the free language search through which you can actually pose problems and get answers is mind-boggling. So what in your opinion do you see as a threat from generative AI to our profession? And of course, this question is being attempted to be answered in some form or the other across the world. But what are your thoughts?
No, my thoughts are technology should be used, ought to be used, firstly to reduce the cost of litigation by online filings and all that, because that has helped really in facilitating particularly those litigants who can't afford, you see, paying hefty fees for typing, cyclostyling, and making hundreds of copies of that. And so technology has to be used for that purpose. But what I'm trying to impress upon is that we have seen, not only in India but overseas also, AI being applied even for decision making,
Yes.
even for judgments. That, in my view, is not acceptable, for the reason that no two cases are same, and cases have to be decided on the basis of facts which they have, you see. So
but it can be used as a tool.
It can be served as a tool for research and all that, not for the purpose of your decisions on that. Decisions have to come.
I completely agree. But at the same time, there are a lot of mundane types of disputes, small disputes, consumer disputes as well, where AI can play a role and bring down the arrears, because part of the cynicism that the general public has against the legal system is that it is too slow, and justice delayed is justice denied. So maybe we can think about a more creative way in which some of the use cases of generative AI can help solve the arrears problem without it interfering with mainstream litigation. So this is a possibility, but this is
a possibility. I entirely agree. It is a possibility which should be explored.
Yes.
And it should be used. But keeping in view that today as admitted by even our Honorable Chief Justice of India and the Law Minister in the Parliament, more than 5 crore cases are pending. And at the same time, we are facilitating filing of more and more cases. What about the disposal? That disposal is not coming, you see, the way it ought to have come. When I started my practice, there was no pendency of cases. No pendency of cases. So this is the...
Today it is staggering.
Yeah. Now kindly see 5 crore cases and the number is increasing.
I mean, the estimate is that with the current strength, it will take 300 years to dispose of the arrears, which is staggering.
So something ought to be done, and if use of technology can help there,
that was my
should
point.
Be done. But that is my question. Can it help in reducing the number of cases? Because in my view, it requires a change in the mindset. You see, government is the largest litigant for the last 50, 60 years. If there is a change in the mindset of government, that they will not go up, you see, just for the sake of ego, to challenge every decision which goes against them.
It is ego and fear, both.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to take the responsibility of not filing an appeal. So,
Correct.
because that will land them into different types of problems. If I can now shift gear a little bit, and for just a very brief chat, because otherwise we can go on forever, is opening up of the legal market. That's a topic that constantly gets discussed, and you are the kind of the spokesman of the Indian bar on that. What are your thoughts on opening up of the profession?
Yeah, you are right. You are right, Cyril, that I was considered as a face of the opposing the entry of foreign law firms till the year 2013-14, because I wanted that our Indian law firms should be able to strengthen themselves in terms of technology, in terms of resources, and they should be able to compete favorably with the counterparts in the other countries. But in 2014, we told the government, and that was an interministerial group where I appeared as president of SILF. I said, we are not opposed to the entry of foreign lawyers. You please allow them in a phased, sequential manner, possibly following the Singapore model.
Yes.
And the government at that time, the Department of Commerce, agreed with that, and they made similar presentation. So the stand at the moment is that we are not opposed to that. We would rather welcome a good, healthy, what I call co-opetition, that is cooperation and competition with the foreign law firm, because that is a good learning experience for us also and for them also, and good for our young lawyers to learn, you see, what are the international practices and global contemporaneous development which are taking place. So we welcome that, but it should be done in a proper phased manner as has been done otherwise, and we welcome that now.
So time will tell where this goes, because this is a topic that has been discussed for so long, and maybe the future will give us the answer. Now I'm going to move, as we come to the end of this recording, I want to come to some light-hearted questions about you, about Lalit Bhasin, the person. So when you were a young lawyer entering into the practice, who was your role model?
No, as I said, my role model was my father and my grandfather. I followed them, although they were not in this corporate practice, but they were my role models so far as the role of the profession is concerned. And I followed them, and I continue to follow them till now.
I would give a very similar answer for myself as well. So I never met my grandfather, but but kind of the lineage is where you get your basic character from. And I think you're saying the same thing. Now you travel a lot and have traveled a lot. What's your favorite destination?
Well, favorite destination for me in India is virtually my homeland, Kashmir, because even when we were in Pakistan, erstwhile Pakistan and before 1947, we used to go to Kashmir, where my maternal grandfather was there. So my first love in India is definitely
Definitely Kashmir.
Kashmir.
And outside India?
Outside India, I've visited almost all parts of the world,
But pick one.
one is the Dubai.
Dubai?
Also possibly because my daughter lives there.
Well, whatever the reason, it's still a good.
Yeah.
Your favorite meal in Delhi? Where would you like? If you were to take me out for a meal, where would you take me out?
Well, I don't know. You are a vegetarian, I think.
I'm a vegetarian, completely.
I am a non-vegetarian, and I am supposed to be a very foodie person. So my favorite food is again, as I said, Kashmiri food, what they call the wazwan.
Yes,
And there are some very good vegetarian dishes also which they
they
make, you
are.
see, like paneer and the saag they make, and the nadru, that is,
Yes.
you see, that is all. So that is my favorite place. And in Delhi, we have 2, 3 very good outlets where you get good
Okay,
non-veg
so
as well as
that's
veg.
when I'm next in Delhi, you're taking me to a Kashmiri place. A good book that you have read recently.
Good book which I've read is recently. I'm very fond of the poetry, you see, and all that.
Okay.
And the book which I've read recently is by Meher Asfan Faruqi on Ghalib.
Oh, it's right handy on your desk.
Yeah, it is on Ghalib. I really loved it. And on the other side, I also have fond reader of Jeffrey Archer,
That's
Turn
quite
a Blind
eclectic.
Eye.
Yeah.
These
Good.
2 books I have read very recently and I really love them.
Last question. A good movie that you wouldn't mind rewatching today across the last 50 years.
Yeah, keeping in view what is happening in India, that we are seeing a new transition from a underdeveloped to developing and now a developed country, I like the film Naya Daur because Naya Daur means the
Yes,
new
Dilip Kumar.
Dilip Kumar. He's my favorite actor, and of course we had Vajanti Mala and Ajit. So that remains my favorite movie.
How nice. It was a fantastic, and the music was also amazing.
Great. And B.R. Chopra, you see, he was a legend at that point.
Yeah. No, he's still a legend.
Yeah.
So, Lalitji, thank you for this fascinating interview. I learned so much. You know, I've known you for so many years, but there were so many parts about your career that I didn't know. And I'm pretty sure that there are a number of lawyers in the profession, young and old, who don't know this part about you. So I hope they all enjoy this episode as well. And
it has always been a pleasure, Cyril, to meet you, to speak to you, to have some discussions with you. And this was a very good, accelerating experience for me to share my views with you.